All right, take two. First rule of this channel is we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel is this is not legal advice. So this is week 6, how the sausage is made, and Raheem Mostert hanging 32 points on the Panthers, really making his claim towards fantasy MVP. I don't know where he went in your leagues, but I think in my main money league he went undrafted. I don't remember where he went in my high school league. So let's move forward with this. Other notable guys this week. Um, Tyreek Hill doing 25, the Sun God doing 24, Cup 24, the Ghost of Adam Thielen 23, Jalen Hurts, and some of those were turnovers, so he could have had a much better day. Tua, Jared Goff, showing that I don't know what I'm talking about. Another week. Travis Etienne, you know, I'm not going to go as far as say he's elite, but I'm not going to. I would no longer view him as an RB2 at this point. Like his usage is just elite. Kyron Williams, like I might actually say he's no longer like I think I had him like running back 5 in my rankings. I think he's more of a mid RB2, based off of Cooper Kupp coming back and taking away his targets, but overall, just his usage is going to keep him in the conversation. So maybe a high end 2, definitely a mid level 2. Desmond Ritter and Sam Howell looking like they're not just streamers, but they definitely could be low end QB1s. In one quarterback team leagues, and definitely in 2 quarterback leagues, they're startable at this point. Um, let's see, other running backs. Brees Hall is ramping his way up. Kenneth Walker's moving up towards that running back 1 status, and there's another one I was going to talk about. We'll get there. DeAndre Swift is definitely in my running back 1 status now. Based off of his another week of good receiving usage. Jacoby Myers has another good day. Michael Pittman 9 for 109. The one win that I can definitely take this week is Michael Mayer. So him and Rashee Rice should be high on the waiver wire pickups this week. If you didn't already stash Michael Mayer, I'll be picking him up if I can get a hold of him. And then the defense was Minnesota Vikings against Chicago, which is a little surprising when we get into that box score because I was expecting a little higher score game. So, all right, let's start with the Ravens against the Titans in London, 24-16. I was expecting this to not be a good game. Lamar Jackson was able to kind of salvage his day. I think it didn't look good at one point when I was looking at the box score, but he was able to hit, was it Zay Flowers for the touchdown? So Zay Flowers is high end 3, low end 2. Not really surprising because I was like, this game may be unpredictable enough that if you could consider benching like Lamar and Mark Andrews, it would be something to think about. So they were able to get you where you need to go, at least give you your 40-degree days. And then on the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry maybe creeping back into that volume running back 1 status, 12 carries. And then Tajay Spears is able to rip off a 48-yard reception. I mean, at this point, I don't see how the Titans can not continue to give Tajay Spears more touches. He's just probably a little bit more athletic at this point in his career. So this timeshare is probably going to continue, I would imagine. And then DeAndre Hopkins only 1 for 20 on 5 targets. So that spike week of that ridiculous level of targets, I think he had 12 or 14 or something like that, probably going to come down. It's just pieces of not good to bad offenses is just, they're going to be more unpredictable than pieces of not bad to good offenses like the Ravens are. All right. Broncos Chiefs, as it resets on me. So I haven't talked about this game yet. I haven't watched the tape. I won't do that probably until tomorrow and Tuesday. Russell Wilson's bad. I was actually talking to someone about this today. I imagine that Sean Payton and the Broncos just want to make sure that Russell Wilson is not the answer and they're going to run him out of town. So he started the week at running back or quarterback 9, and this will definitely drop him out. 95 yards passing, 2 interceptions. Javonte, there's not going to be enough opportunity to cash in the touchdowns, and I look for touchdowns because touchdowns are where it's going to win your league. I was also talking about this today. Um, the old model for fantasy football was do not chase touchdowns, chase point or usage for yardage because yardage is more predictable. Well, that's changed because of the fact that we can look at how good offenses are and how many opportunities they're going to have in the red zone. The more opportunities a team has in the red zone means that there's more opportunities for an individual player to score. And then we can also look at what are the opportunities that a team, how they distribute those opportunities within the red zone, which means we're not speculating as much on touchdowns. We can predict them more often based off of how often the team is going to get in the red zone and then give those opportunities away. So it's better to chase touchdowns now than it is to chase yardage, which is something that's changed in the last few years of the theory of fantasy football. So if the Broncos are not a good team, even if Javonte Williams is getting a particular steady dose of opportunities, if they're not the right opportunities, they just don't matter. And I don't even see him being used in the passing game, so he just doesn't matter at this point. Jaleel McLaughlin, because of the opportunity for passing work, and then if he's going to be the red zone guy, has much higher upside or fantasy relevance than anybody else does. So, and then everybody else, like if Russell Wilson is going to be unpredictable, rolling pieces of the Broncos passing game out just doesn't matter anymore. So I'm not interested in that. I did kind of talk about this, I think, the other day with Rashee Rice, may be getting there, especially with the injury to Justin Watson. So I want to see the snapshot. I think it was still only like 49%, but I imagine with the Justin Watson injury, it's going to bump up a little bit. And then if he's still getting such a high target share when he's on the field, I imagine just because of the vacated targets to Justin Watson, he's going to at least get a couple more. And then if he's still a high uh, target getter in the red zone, the week to week predictability of a touchdown goes up, especially in this offense. And I don't think that the Chiefs offense is necessarily good anymore, but I think that they are definitely in the not bad category to okay, which means that like we can there is going to be more opportunities for everybody involved. So I do like Rashee Rice, probably, I would say like off the top of my head, like if not the number one ad, but close to it. And I don't know right now how much everybody else is going to be pounding the table to pick him up. There might be other ads that are above him, but we'll get to Michael Mayer that would be on my list. But see, we already talked about Ravens, Titans, Commanders, Falcons. So Desmond Ridder, especially if he can give you certain amounts of rushing floor. He's always going to be not good in the passing game because he's just not good. But at least at this point, it looks like Atlanta's going to have to see what they got, just similar to Russell Wilson. So understand that he's going to be imperfect, but if he can do a good enough passing volume with some floor and then score touchdowns, that's good. And then Sam Howell, the same thing, gets you there with 3 touchdowns and does have a little rushing floor. Just haven't really seen a lot of it yet. B Rob week was able to get there with a receiving touchdown. Again, he's just the guy I think that they use in the red zone. So I am a little interested in this, and I'm wondering if he got a 1-yard catch. I can actually look it up right now. If it was a 1-yard catch or 24-yard catch, and it was a 24-yard catch for him. It was a 1-yard touchdown reception for Antonio Gibson. And then McLaurin gets there 6 for 81. And again, if you paid for your pieces, just leave them in your lineup. So then Drake London, 12 targets, Kyle Pitts, 6. And I was watching a show again. Just the way that Kyle Pitts is being used is better. Even though he may not be getting the snaps that he was getting before, so that's encouraging. And then I'm not going to say anything about Bijan because people don't like me to talk about Bijan. But again, if he's not getting specific work, his overall fantasy value is going to go down. And like I said, I think he's going to end up the season as a high end RB2. Going into next year, he should probably be valued a little bit better, and there'll be more upside built in. If he was going as like running back 4, 5, 6, something in that range, there just isn't enough upside left into him, and you're just buying him at his ceiling. All right. And then moving forward to the Vikings Bears. Again, this is another game I was interested in. The guy I was kind of interested in is Tyson Baguette. I want to watch tape on him. 10 for 14, 83 yards, did throw a pick. Another bad Kirk Cousins week. Alexander Madison is holding off the backfield from Cam Akers. So if you were buying, then you're winning. If you're selling, then you're losing. And then it just wasn't the target distribution and the production that we were kind of hoping for after the Justin Jefferson injury. And then DJ Moore comes back to earth. That was kind of a little bit expected. So that part, is kind of expected to happen. Guys are not going to put up a 2,200 yard receiving season until we get to Tyreek Hill. Seahawks Bengals. I was expecting there to be more points in this week. If Kenneth Walker is just going to be this volume guy and you're going to get touchdowns and then receiving work, I mean, that's a floor, a high end floor, and then his ceiling can get up into the 30, 40 point range. So then that moves him up from like that high end, mid to high end RB2 to like, mid to high end running back one, just based off the continued usage. And then if Zach Charbonnet is not going to, I mean, this is not as a Kenneth Walker owner, I wouldn't want him to eat into any of my production for Kenneth Walker, but it's just not enough. And coming out of the bios, maybe expecting a little bit more of a bump in the Zach Charbonnet usage, and it just didn't happen. The usage that I did kind of expect to see is Jake Bobo, 2 for 43 and 2 touchdowns. I was expecting Noah Fant's usage to go up, and it didn't. But I was also expecting Jackson Smith and Jigba's usage to go up. So I'm curious, like, the Seahawks were a heavy 12 personnel, 2 tight end team, and I'm curious if they were running 3 wide receivers a lot or 4 wide receivers and using Jake Bobo in that like hybrid wide receiver tight end role. These are the things that I would be looking for. Like again, Jake Bobo's snap share in this offense. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff about that on the back end of Seattle, even though they lost. And then for the Bengals, I mean, Jamar Chase is really good at football. Tyler Boyd gets it done. 7 receptions, 38 yard, not very efficient, but he gets the touchdown. So yeah, I mean, not the overall points that I was expecting, but I mean, it is what it is. I did kind of call this game the 49ers Browns, like, don't trust it because of the Browns defense. McCaffrey, I did see get hurt, but did have a 40-degree day, got a touchdown. Not a particularly good day for Purdy. Not a good day for Debo or Kittle, but Ayuk gets you there. I'm kind of curious about what's going on with Christian McCaffrey going forward. PJ Walker, a little surprising he threw the 2 picks. Well, not really too surprising. He is kind of a turnover machine. I thought he would manage the game a little bit better. Jerome Ford, a lot of this came late because I didn't see it in the first half of the ticker. Still a little bit of a timeshare with Kareem Hunt. The biggest thing is the receiving work that I was expecting Jerome Ford to get went to Kareem Hunt. So Kareem Hunt is a little bit more of a threat. But after this, the Browns schedule opens up. So I would imagine Jerome Ford is going to really be a plug-and-play weekly guy in the RB2 range going forward with this. And then sometimes you just have to play your best players, even though the matchup says don't. 4 for 108 for Amari, 58 along a 58. So just stick with your guys there. But overall, this is kind of what I expected this game to be. So none of that surprises me. So I might not even watch anything on that game. Maybe I will. Panthers Dolphins. This was a little bit of a surprise. The Panthers jumped out 14 points early. I was running the Miami defense, and then Miami just dropped the hammer on them. So Chuba Hubbard, if you were running him, especially as a handcuff to Miles Sanders, got you there this week. A little surprising that the passing game wasn't there for him, the receiving work. That goes to Adam Thielen. I think most of this was done in the first half. I think he had like 10 for 100 in the first half and 1 touchdown. None of that other stuff is really interesting. Tyreek Hill, like I said, is still on pace for like 2,200 yards, which is ridiculous at this point. And then Jalen Waddle, I mean, still clawing around on the back end, gets that touchdown. Probably still a buy because at a certain point in the season, I'm going to have to expect that the usage is going to flip. And no Chase Claypool. I'm really excited to see how that will work out when he comes in, because at the very least, I think it could unlock Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle a little bit more to get pieces of this offense. And then Raheem Mostert, 17 carries, 15 yards, 2 touchdowns to go with another 3 for 17 and another touchdown. I mean, just ridiculous usage from a guy that I think went undrafted in my money league. And I don't even know where he went in my other league at this rate, but like that's, he's had a 40-point week and a 30-point week this year to go with a couple 40-degree days. So like, yeah, it's interesting to see him shake out to the guy who got him. Throwing, people throw out like league winner a little too much, but like a guy that basically won you 3 weeks, I would say is definitely in that category. So my boy Gardner Minshew, disappointing day, 3 picks too early. I don't know when the third one came. Did get a touchdown, went to Josh Downs. A little surprising on that stat line, but at least got you there with that thing. Kylan Granson. I was expecting Drew Ogletree to have a better day based off that snap share, but again, the stats can be deceiving. Michael Pittman, 9 for 109, still up there like as a very valuable pick for anybody who got him. And then Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. I imagine that like they may have been in a 50-50 snap share, but I imagine they might stay in that for the rest of the year. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Colts try and trade Zach Moss for something along those lines. Because I don't know how you just bench Zach Moss after the tear that he went on. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, if they didn't need it, they didn't need it. But this is kind of if you're still thinking that it's going to be a T-Law season, when he doesn't do well. My co-owner was complaining about Calvin Ridley just doing 4 for 30 and then a negative 4-yard rush this week. Christian Kirk still in that wide receiver 2 category. Evan Ingram in that low end to mid-range tight end 1. And Travis Etienne, not you're going to be trading him, and not that you're going to be trading for him, but like that's he's in that mid to high end RB1 range with usage at this point. I am kind of curious about. I did hear that he is getting the goal line carries. Yeah, like 2-yard run on top of the 22-yard run. So Tank Bigsby is not a thing. He's not eating into Travis Etienne anymore. So at that point, like that, with the receiving work and the rushing work and the goal line work, I mean, that's the high end RB1 status. Even if the offense is not necessarily on the good side, it's still on the not bad to okay side. So they would stay up there. Let's see. Saints Texans, another game that I was not really surprised about. The Saints defense is good, and the Texans defense I think is getting better. 353. A lot of that I think came late for Derek Carr, because I did see that like Chris Olave wasn't having a particularly good game. I think a lot of this came late. Rashid Shaheed continues to be a guy that they got to get the ball to. I mean, 51-yard touchdown. I'm assuming it was a 51-yard touchdown. Haven't really looked at that box score. Alvin Kamara still has elite usage. None of that's really interesting. CJ Stroud, I mean, getting it done sometimes. This flop, like Dameon Pierce has not been efficient. I was reading on a thread that he hasn't looked good from a vision standpoint, and the offensive line's not good. And then Devin Singletary, whatever's going on there, where he comes in and he's efficient. And if Dameon Pierce is not going to be good and he's not getting receiving work, I mean, that's going to move him down. I had him at like running back 8 rest of the season from a value standpoint, and just from the last couple games stretch, like he's getting into that RB3 range just from what I was expecting him to do in this offense to turn the corner to what he has done. Nico Collins is still there, like, wide receiver 2 land. I do want to see some of the usage on this one. Dalton Schultz, like pieces of the good offenses are just going to get you there sometimes. Little surprised on the Robert Woods, only 3 targets, 1 for 6, but he did get the tug, which if you were rolling him in that low end range is kind of good to know. All right. Patriots Raiders. I had big Ramondre shares this year, and he got there, but he got there on my bench. So unfortunately for me, hopefully if you were rolling him out, he got there, but it does look like there may be a timeshare going on with Zeke, and this offense is still not good. This is one of those ones like you expect them to actually get good, and they did just good enough. Kendrick Bourne, 10 for 89, 11 targets is a little interesting. But besides that, and then on the other side with the Raiders, Jimmy G, I think, got hurt again. Josh Jacobs is still elite when it comes to his usage. I'm not too concerned with Devontae Adams in this game because the Patriots game plan has always been to take away the number one receiver. I would really start being worried next week, and I can understand if someone comes knocking and you decide to sell and you can get kind of return on your investment, it may not be a bad idea. And then there's Jacoby Myers in that wide receiver 2 range, but the big one is Michael Mayer leading everything 5 for 75 and 6 targets. Going to be high up on the list of go add this week, Michael Mayer. But just from the beginning of last week, that was predictable. I saw that coming. I got to take my dubs where I can because I have an awful lot of losses when it comes to predicting things. Rams and Cardinals. Josh Dobbs, again, he had the rushing floor. He just had too many turnovers, didn't turn them into points in the touchdown department. This surprised me with the Keontae Ingram, Damian Williams, who was elevated from the practice squad, and then Amari Desperado, and almost a 3-headed monster, like 2.5-headed monster. A little surprised that Amari Desperado didn't get more work. And then Damian Williams and Keontae Ingram. I mean, like at the very least, I would have expected like this all to be DeMercado's work, but he didn't get there. And then I think Michael Wilson had one late, stashable at this point. I don't know if I would be rolling him out very often. And then this was a game that I was expecting it to have a little bit more ability for these guys. And then Marquise Brown, the encouraging thing is the 11 targets. This is the go-to guy, so that's still high end wide receiver 2, if not low end wide receiver 1. It's just going to be a matter of the offenses may never be good enough to get him the opportunities he needs. Josh Dobbs may just be too limited as a passer to get the ball to Hollywood Brown when it's there. And then Kyron Williams, like I would move him down because the targets that he was getting early in the season appeared to be going other places. So he's just getting like the rushing work, not getting enough of the receiving work. But he is going to have the full backfield, and 20 carries for 158 yards and a touchdown is nothing to shake his stick at. I did see that he kind of rolled an ankle at the end of the game, but I just don't know how sustainable this is going to be because like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, getting high 20s to 30% of the market or target share, there just isn't enough to support anybody else, and that includes if Kyron Williams can't have a day like this. And these days, like high-end running back ones don't have these days, let alone a guy that's athletically limited and is mostly in the game because they trust him to do what he's supposed to do. And again, you can see why when they trust somebody. The other interesting thing is Zach Evans, 4 carries. I think they came late in the game. I think Ronnie Rivers did get hurt. But I would imagine that Zach Evans is slowly but surely going to eat into Kyron Williams. If they want to see what they have in him and they trust him enough, that's something I would be paying attention to. Maybe a buy or a sell high right now on Kyron Williams, to people in your league that don't realize some of the backstory behind it. Eagles Jets. So this one was interesting to me. Turnover machine. Jalen Hurts with 3 picks. I think 2 were late. And then if Zach Wilson can just be serviceable, and Breece Hall can do Breece Hall things, got into the end zone with a touchdown late to win the game. Another 5 receptions for 54 yards. Garrett Wilson 8 for 90. And again, all Zach Wilson has to be is serviceable, and Garrett Wilson is going to jump particularly high because he's going to have the ability at any given point to have a spike week. So if he can stay in this like 8 receptions, 90 yards, 12 target range because they have to feed him, and they can take advantage of one-on-one matchups with Garrett Wilson because everybody's going to be concerned with Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson is going to become an early sell to a now a buy. And then on the other side of the table with the Eagles, DeAndre Swift didn't get there on the ground, but if he can get a consistent rushing or a receiving floor, 8 for 40, and he had 6 receptions last week, did get there with a touchdown, but this receiving work gives him a good enough floor to roll out every week and know that like he's going to give you at least a 40-degree day. So again, this is something I said last week to be paying attention to because now he's in that running back 1 status, just because of the receiving floor. And then AJ Brown week, not a Devontae Smith week, and Dallas Goedert is a 40-degree day, but you'll take that from the tight end position. Moving on. And then Lions, Buccaneers. I thought this would be a little bit closer game. Jared Goff did 353 and 2 touchdowns. Again, saying I don't know what I'm talking about. David Montgomery did get hurt. The Sun God doing Sun God things. This one I didn't see. Jamison Williams did have a touchdown. I'm assuming it's a 45-yarder as he works in the offense. Josh Reynolds coming back to earth from where he started. Laporta injured. None of that's really interesting. The other one to look at is the 7 targets for Trey Palmer. So hopefully you stashed him, because these are going to be the more valuable targets downfield as opposed to Chris Godwin's, which are going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. So that's interesting. And then I was expecting a little bit more out of Cade Otton. Didn't happen this week. Also a little surprising that Rashad White is lower on, it looks like, the totem pole when it comes to opportunities. He's going to be like volume based, but overall, like, just a grand total of like 11 opportunities. I would be thinking it would be closer to the 15 to 20 land, but maybe a weird game flow going on. So I might watch that a little bit. But the Lions look like they had it in control the entire time. And then if I didn't talk about the Giants and the Bills that I was watching the ticker right before this happened, Tyrod Taylor looked like they were running the offense a little bit better, not a lot. They had an opportunity to win the game on the last play of the game. Barkley put some of this production in late. Slayton, I wouldn't trust any piece of this offense. Wan'Dale Robinson, if you're in those PPR scammer leagues. Darren Waller did get something late, did get that last red zone opportunity. I think that's the play right there at the end of the game. And that's what's going on. And then again, Josh Allen, didn't get you quite there as you expected. From his standards, Gabe Davis comes back to earth. Quentin Morris vultures a touchdown, and then I wouldn't trust any of these running backs. And I think Damian Harris went to the hospital with a neck injury. So I think that's about it for the day. Want to keep it as short as possible for you guys, but that's how the sausage was made. And I'll take a look at the snap shares and start writing my notes down for after waivers this week.